My ex told our kids I abandoned them for a new man. At my daughter's graduation, she read her speech directly to me and said, "I found your letters, all 400 of them. He never gave me one." There is a specific kind of silence that fills an auditorium when something true and enormous is said out loud into a microphone in front of 400 people. It is not the silence of discomfort. It is not the silence of confusion. It is the silence of recognition, the held breath of a room that understands all at once that they are witnessing something that cannot be taken back. My daughter Lily was standing at the podium in her cap and gown, her dark hair pinned back the way she always wore it for important things, the way I used to pin it when she was small and sitting still long enough to let me. She was 22 years old. She was the valedictorian of her graduating class at the University of Tennessee, and she was looking directly at me, not at the crowd, not at her notes, directly at me, in a way that made my breath stop somewhere in my chest. "I found your letters," she said, "all 400 of them. He never gave me one." The room went completely quiet. My name is Diane Callahan. I am 48 years old, and I have been, depending on who you asked and when you ask them, a mother, an abandoner, a woman who chose a man over her children, a cautionary tale, a ghost. The version of me that existed in my children's house for the 11 years after my divorce was none of those things, but it was the only version they knew until last spring, until a cardboard box in an attic, until a graduation speech that rewrote in 4 minutes and 30 seconds everything my daughter believed about the first decade of her life. I should start at the beginning. I usually do not tell this story, not because it is too painful, though it is, but because for a long time I was not sure anyone would believe it. I was not sure I fully believed it myself, that a person could do what Douglas did, systematically, quietly, over years, and leave no visible seam, that a man could be the kind of father who coached Little League and showed up to school plays and remembered every teacher's name, and also be the kind of man who intercepted 400 letters and told 2 children their mother had forgotten them. But I am getting ahead of myself. Douglas Callahan and I met when I was 23 in Knoxville at a mutual friend's barbecue on a July afternoon that smelled like charcoal and cut grass. He was funny in that easy, immediate way that feels like chemistry, but is sometimes just performance. He was attentive, he asked questions, and then remembered the answers, which is a thing I have since learned to be more careful about. We dated for 2 years, got married in a ceremony my mother cried through, and had our first child, Lily, before I was 27. Our son James came 2 years after that. For a while, things were fine, or they seemed fine. The gap between those two things is something I have spent a lot of years sitting with. Douglas was a good provider and a present father, and almost never openly unkind, which is a combination that makes it very difficult to articulate why a marriage feels wrong. It just did. A low-frequency wrongness, like a sound you cannot locate, that I kept explaining away because I had no language for it and no evidence to point to. The wrong thing I eventually understood was control, not the dramatic kind, not the kind with locked doors and raised voices, the quiet kind, the kind that operates through logistics. Douglas managed our finances, which seemed reasonable because he was better with numbers. Douglas handled the school communications, which seemed reasonable because he worked from home. Douglas decided where we vacationed, what we drove, which neighborhood we lived in, and what we did on Sundays. All of it reasonable, all of it explained, none of it ever quite feeling like mine. Full story on YouTube below.